Welcome to Application Security interview questions focused on secure coding and development practices. Today's discussion covers 4 critical areas that every security professional should master. First, the OWASP Top 10, which represents the most critical web application security risks. Second, the Secure Development Lifecycle, a systematic approach to building security into every phase of software development. Third, code review processes that help identify vulnerabilities before they reach production. And finally, vulnerability remediation techniques to fix security issues effectively. These topics form the foundation of application security and are frequently discussed in technical interviews for cybersecurity roles. The OWASP Top 10 is a standard awareness document that represents the most critical security risks to web applications. OWASP stands for Open Web Application Security Project, a nonprofit foundation that works to improve software security. The Top 10 list is updated every few years based on real-world vulnerability data and expert consensus. Its primary purpose is to help developers and security professionals understand and mitigate common vulnerabilities that attackers frequently exploit. The document serves as a baseline for application security programs and provides guidance on the most important risks organizations should address first. Understanding these risks is essential for anyone working in application security or preparing for security-focused interviews. The current OWASP Top 10 list includes 10 critical vulnerability categories. A 01 is broken access control, where restrictions on authenticated users are not properly enforced. A 02 covers cryptographic failures, formerly known as sensitive data exposure. A 03 is injection vulnerabilities, including SQL injection and cross-site scripting. A 04 addresses insecure design, focusing on design flaws and missing security controls. A 05 is security misconfiguration, covering improperly configured security settings. A 06 deals with vulnerable and outdated components in applications. A 07 covers identification and authentication failures. A 08 addresses software and data integrity failures. A 09 focuses on security logging and monitoring failures. Finally, a 10 covers server-side request forgery or SSRF vulnerabilities. Each category represents a significant threat that organizations must address. SQL injection is one of the most dangerous and common web application vulnerabilities. Let's examine the difference between vulnerable and secure code. The vulnerable code example shows a login function that directly concatenates user input into a SQL query string. This approach allows attackers to manipulate the query by injecting malicious SQL commands through the username or password fields. For instance, an attacker could input a single quote followed by SQL commands to bypass authentication or extract sensitive data. The secure code example demonstrates the proper approach using parameterized queries. Instead of string concatenation, it uses question marks as placeholders for user input. The database engine treats these parameters as data, not executable code, preventing injection attacks. This technique, also called prepared statements, is the most effective defense against SQL injection vulnerabilities. The Secure Development Lifecycle, or SDLC, is a systematic approach that integrates security practices into every phase of software development. Unlike traditional development approaches that treat security as an afterthought, SDLC embeds security considerations from the very beginning of a project. This proactive approach offers several key benefits. First, it enables early vulnerability detection, allowing teams to identify and fix security issues before they become expensive problems. Second, it significantly reduces remediation costs because fixing vulnerabilities during development is much cheaper than patching them in production. Third, it improves the overall security posture of applications by making security a fundamental part of the development process rather than a last-minute addition. Organizations that implement SDLC practices typically experience fewer security incidents and lower long-term security costs. The secure development lifecycle consists of 4 key phases, each with specific security integration points. Phase 1 is the requirements phase, where teams define security requirements and conduct threat modeling to identify potential attack vectors early in the project. This phase establishes the security foundation for the entire application. Phase 2 is the design phase, which involves security architecture review and implementation of secure design patterns. Teams evaluate the overall system design for security flaws and ensure proper security controls are planned. Phase 3 is the implementation phase, where secure coding practices are applied and regular code reviews are conducted to catch vulnerabilities as code is written. Finally, Phase 4 is the testing phase, which includes comprehensive security testing and vulnerability assessments to validate that security controls work as intended before deployment. Security code review is a critical process that examines source code for potential vulnerabilities and security weaknesses. Effective code reviews focus on two primary areas. The first area is input validation, which ensures that all user inputs are properly sanitized to prevent injection attacks. Reviewers check that data types are validated, input length limits are enforced, and whitelist validation is used wherever possible. This prevents attackers from submitting malicious data that could compromise the application. The second area is authentication and authorization, which verifies that security controls are properly implemented. Reviewers examine password policies to ensure they meet security standards, validate session management mechanisms, check that access control mechanisms work correctly, and identify potential privilege escalation vulnerabilities. Regular security code reviews help catch vulnerabilities before they reach production and educate developers about secure coding practices. Vulnerability assessment relies on various automated tools to identify security weaknesses in applications. Static analysis tools examine source code without executing it, including Sonar Quebec for code quality and security, checkmarks for comprehensive static analysis, Veracode for cloud-based scanning, and CodeQL for semantic code analysis. Dynamic analysis tools test running applications by simulating attacks, such as OWASP ZAP for web application testing, Burp Suite for manual and automated testing, Nessus for network and web vulnerability scanning, and Akunetix for automated web security testing. Dependency scanning tools check third-party components for known vulnerabilities, including SNIKE for developer-first security, OWASP dependency check for open-source scanning, WhiteSource for license and security compliance, and Black Duck for comprehensive component analysis. Container security tools protect containerized applications, including Claire for static analysis of container images, Twistlock for runtime protection, Aqua Security for full lifecycle security, and Anchor for container compliance and security. Vulnerability remediation follows a systematic four-step process to effectively address security issues. Step 1 is identify, where teams detect and classify vulnerabilities using automated scanning tools and manual testing techniques. This step involves running regular scans and analyzing results to understand the nature and scope of security issues. Step 2 is prioritize, where teams assess the risk level and business impact of each vulnerability to determine remediation order. Critical vulnerabilities that could lead to data breaches or system compromise receive immediate attention, while lower-risk issues are scheduled based on available resources. Step 3 is remediate, where teams implement fixes and security patches following established best practices. This involves writing secure code, applying vendor patches, and updating configurations to eliminate vulnerabilities. Step 4 is verify, where teams test the implemented fixes and validate that security improvements work as expected without breaking existing functionality. Application security interviews typically cover 6 key question areas. Question 1 asks how you would prevent SQL injection in your application, testing knowledge of parameterized queries, input validation, and secure coding practices. Question 2 requests an explanation of the difference between authentication and authorization, evaluating understanding of identity verification versus access control concepts. Question 3 inquires about security measures you would implement in the software development lifecycle, assessing knowledge of secure development practices and integration points. Question 4 asks how you handle sensitive data encryption at rest and in transit, testing understanding of cryptographic controls and data protection strategies. Question 5 describes your approach to the security code review process, evaluating knowledge of manual and automated review techniques. Question 6 asks what tools you would use for vulnerability assessment, testing familiarity with static analysis, dynamic analysis, and specialized security testing tools.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.